We're talking about Camp Kirk, a wonderful camp for children with learning disabilities and attention deficit disorder. And joining me now is Catherine Henderson. Catherine, we're going to be meeting your son Nick in the next segment.
That's right.
And he's been to Camp Kirk, I think, for 6 years?
6 consecutive years, yes.
And you are also as well.
Yes, I am.
And of course, Henri O'Day is back. He's the executive director of Camp Kirk, and also Vicki Hand is here. Now, Vicki, you are a parent of a child who goes to the camp.
Who went to camp.
Who went to camp, and but you're also a board member.
Yes, I'm a board member and a fundraiser.
And a fundraiser. Why did you decide to get involved?
Well, I believe in the cause. I believe in helping kids who have learning disabilities, and the most important thing about the fundraising is that all of the children that go to Camp Kirk are subsidized in some way, shape, or another.
Okay, that's a really good point.
So that's, it's always been Henri's vision and the board members' vision to keep the camp accessible to people. So you have to fundraise to do that, because Henri was talking about the ratio of campers to staff. So there are a lot of resources that go into camp, and therefore we need the fundraising.
So the board members and the volunteers must play a huge role.
Huge, absolutely huge, because as we just heard, you know, our goal is to try and not ever refuse a child based on financial needs. So of course the cost of operating a camp like Camp Kirk are pretty high, and so we desperately rely on the good work of our volunteers and our fundraisers to maintain the camp you know, every year. And you know, we've been very, very lucky to have some incredible people on our board.
It amazes me because I saw the passion that Lynn had, Lynn Zeraldo from the Learning Disability Association, and your passion for this, and you've made what was a vision a very real
project. That's no longer a project, it's a fact, and it makes a huge difference. And we couldn't do it without the support of our board members, and you know, people like Vicki have been incredible in helping us over the years, and Catherine has been a very strong advocate as well. And
Catherine, I want to ask you, as a mom, you know, how you first found out about the camp, how did you feel about it? How did you feel about Nick going there?
Well, I've got to tell you a little story here, because I first found out about the camp when I went as a teacher to Montcrest, which is a private school where Henri was presenting along with some other people on bright children who learn differently. And Henri got up and talked about his learning disability and ADD, and then he sang a song called Right Field, and brought tears to my eyes. I was bawling away, and I thought to myself at that point, I've got to meet this man, and I've got to send my son to this camp, because it just sounds like a magical, wonderful place.
That's just a wonderful story.
I know, I'm going to start bawling.
But was it, you know, we talked in the last segment about aha moments for people who either are disabled or have a child who's disabled. See that they understood, they got it?
That was an aha moment for me, because I had struggled through the school system with Nicholas's attention deficit and his inability to sit still or to concentrate, and to hear about a place where these children were understood. And when Nicholas finally went there, to see him grow every single year of those 6 years, whether it was growing as an individual or just to come back, and he had such an acceptance of all children with all of their disabilities. That was a huge step for Nicholas.
Did you find the same thing?
Well, my aha moment was I found out about camp through our pediatrician, and my first aha moment was when I had a son who had a variety of different learning disabilities, but also some behavioral issues, and I wasn't sure whether or not the camp would accept him. And the first aha was the compassion that Henri showed when he interviewed my son, and his acceptance of my son as a whole person. The second aha was after Robin had been there for one session. I'm going to get a little emotional here, you'll have to forgive me, but
I can completely understand that.
I came to pick up my son from camp, and he hugged another person.
Now, is he autistic?
He presents as someone with a high-functioning autistic or Asperger's syndrome, so he has a difficult time connecting emotionally and showing that emotion to other people. And to see him hugging and getting so emotional, saying to these counselors. The other thing that Henri and I have talked about too is not only do the kids gain from going to this wonderfully compassionate place, but there are counselors who come there who don't have learning disabilities necessarily, but they themselves, I think, are very touched by and learn and become more compassionate people because of their experience there. So it's win for the kids, it's win for the counselors.
I can imagine. I have to tell you, as a parent also of a learning disabled, ADHD, Asperger's child, I think as a parent you become very protective of your disabled child, and it's really difficult to do that kind of let go thing.
So my biggest struggle, honestly, is not to treat him with kid gloves.
Yes.
That's the hardest. I think it's hardest for any parent because you want the best for your child and you want them to always put their best foot forward. But sometimes to learn, they have to be more independent, and when they're at camp, they're not with you 24 hours a day.
You're almost holding your breath.
But they're fine. And to see how he actually, that gave me a huge boost of confidence in terms of my abilities to extend my vision for my son into independent adulthood.
So what his possible potential was?
Yes, because you got to take baby steps. And a first step was to be away from the parent nest for 10 days. Well, he loved it, and he became one of the repeats that would go for 2 sessions a summer, for 4 summers.
You must see I mean, this must be stuff you hear all the time.
Well, yeah, I do hear it. I never hear it enough, mind you, but I do hear it, and it gives me the most pleasure of all is to see the results of our work in some of the kids that we have. And you know, Vicki just touched on something that to me is very, very important. And I tell the staff this every year when we go through our staff training session. Bottom line, there's got to be something in it for you, and you better be able to identify what it is, because if you can't, you don't want to be here. And if you start that premise, Pam, this is where it all happens. And as Vicki said, there is so much that the staff gains from the experience. And hopefully it will allow them to get out of Camp Kirk and advocate on behalf of children that have learning disabilities, whether they have learning disabilities themselves or not.
You've talked about some of the activities at Camp Kirk.
Right.
How do you know which child is capable of doing what, or what the limit is for that particular child?
We don't. We absolutely don't. We by, you know, day to day, working with the child and watching. They give you the signals, and you get pretty good at finding out what those signals are. And sometimes it's a judgment call, and you say, okay, we need to push Michael a little harder. And sometimes you say, well, you know, Michael's at the cusp, that's it. You don't want to push any further. And sometimes it's a matter of thinking, okay, well, next year Michael will be back, or Mary will be back, and then maybe next year that will be the goal, you know, to go to that step. So.
May I add something? You were asking about, you know, wanting to hold back. One of the things that Henri and the counselors can do at camp is they can speak quite straightforwardly to your children, and I think it's very difficult to do as a parent. I don't know about Catherine, but you know, and I've been thinking, I honestly have not sat down ever. I know other parents have, but I haven't. I haven't sat down and said, these are the issues that you have. Where do we go from here? And
I know you're creating an environment where the kids are dealing with their own issues.
They are.
Thank you, Pam.
They are.
If I can interrupt, because Pam helped me get back on track again.
Yep.
What Henri said, Henri spoke very straightforwardly to my son at the end of a camp session, and he knew he was coming back. And he just leaned into the car and said, Robin, you sort of held back. You know, you really didn't get involved in the session and in activities the way I would have liked you to. I'd like you to think about it. You've got a couple of days at home. I'd like you to think about that. I couldn't have said that. Henri said it.
Good point.
And my son came back, and the feedback from Henri was that's exactly what he did. He thought about it. He came back, and he participated fully in camp.
He got the message.
He got the message, and I couldn't have delivered the message, but they can deliver it from a different perspective.
Catherine, as a parent?
I think that what I would add to that is it's incredible to me how quickly the counsellors bond with their young charges. And I know for my son, he was almost traumatized every time he had to re-enter the world of Toronto. But you know, Henri has this special connection with the children. He knows them after their first time there, and every year builds on that. And the children, whether they, you know, are starting very slowly or whether they're ready to take bigger leaps, that's all left up to them. They go as quick or as slowly as they can.
Yeah, we use a philosophy, Pam, if you wish, that we call a challenge by choice. And so it's not a matter of saying, well, Michael, you must do this or you must do that. It's, Michael, this is possible for you to reach if you want to reach it, and we'll give you everything you need to get there. You tell us when you're ready. So if for today all you can do is touch the wall, so be it. You touch the wall and everybody's happy.
And that's okay.
That's perfectly okay. And so it's not about being number one. It's not about being number. It's about being the best
So
that
this
you
is
can
a very
be.
non-competitive environment?
Totally, yeah. And it's a much, I call it, and people look at me with big googly eyes sometimes when I say this, but to me it's a very important word. It's a nurturing environment. And for me, it's everything. You know, to be able to take a child's head in my hand and to say, look at me, Michael, and tell him something and make him repeat, Michael, what did I just tell you? And Michael can repeat to me, and then I know he's got it. To me, that physical is so important.
We talked about the self-esteem issue. Do you find the kids when they first come there, that's a huge issue, lack of self-esteem?
Huge, absolutely huge. Not for all of them, but for many of them it is. And this is where I think we're really, really good.
Can I just also say, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you here, but studies have shown that the more a child is connected to his home, his school, and to the world at large, the better he will do in life. And I think the camp experience in this safe environment is a critical part of that whole picture.
And I think you said something that I think is so important. It's that the environment is safe, that they can take those risks because of the safe environment that you've created.
It is. Go ahead.
We're going to give Vicki the last word because we're just about out of time.
No, I was just going to say, in our fast-paced society today, how many kids really get a chance to hang out? And the kids get a chance to hang out and just be at the camp. Not all the time, because there's certainly programmed activity. There are times when they can just hang out and the environment is safe.
You can be on the periphery and it's okay.
And it's okay. That's right. There's nobody there saying, you've got to do it.
Right. They can hang around.
We're talking about Camp Kirk, a camp for children with learning disabilities and ADD. We're going to be right back after this break. I think that